Happy Friday! I realize that you probably can't see my eyes very well. It's bright out here, but I wanted to come outside and do something outside. Hopefully you're able to get outside. Mother's Day is coming up. Just thought I better remind you, did you do anything nice for your mother? Are you going to make her lunch? Just a suggestion. Do something nice for your mother. And it's also Teacher Appreciation Week, so if you didn't say something nice to your teacher yet, don't forget, it's not too late to run and type them a nice little, just thanks for working hard, because they're working hard just like you are. You're working hard too. Every day is Student Appreciation Day, right? We appreciate you. Uh, we do. So I wanted to wrap up the week in Bible and get us kind of thinking toward next week. We're wrapping up Ephesians chapter 2, the first several verses that you read a couple times this week. I've corrected your Tuesday papers, haven't gotten all the Thursday ones in yet. This is Thursday that I'm recording this, so I haven't got those all in yet. But just wanted to make a comment on that very last question of the Tuesday paper, which was about, what was it about? Let's see if I can remember what it was. Right, we were talking about grace and mercy, and that last question said, when Paul uses the phrase deserving of wrath, whose wrath are we deserving of, and what is it called? And almost all of you got it right. Yeah, we're deserving, according to Paul, of God's wrath. And what is that word called when we don't get what we deserve? Some of you, almost everybody said either grace or mercy. But there is a nuanced difference that I wanted to bring out between grace and mercy, because I think it can be important sometimes. In this passage, Paul uses both. He talks about the riches of God's grace, and he also talks about God being rich in mercy. But what's the difference between the two? Mercy would be not getting something we do deserve, like punishment, and grace would be getting something that we don't deserve, like heaven. So just thought it would be interesting to point out the difference between grace and mercy, and how I really love this. I love Ephesians entirely, but I really like that verse. He paints such a great contrast. This is the way things were before, but God, who is rich in mercy, and because of God's great love for you, he sent Jesus, right? So this passage talks about both grace and mercy. It is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. That is a real center point of New Testament teaching, that we are not saved by what we do. In the Old Testament, which I'm again looking forward to talking about, in the Old Testament, everything was about the law. Everything, are you obeying the law? Are you doing the right thing? Because it was a treaty between, kind of a treaty, an agreement or a covenant between God and the nation of Israel, where he said, if you do this, I'll do this. And so it was all about, are you doing your part? Are you obeying the law? But Jesus came and did something totally different. He introduced something totally different with the new covenant. Old covenant, new covenant. And in the new covenant, it is by grace you have been saved through faith, which is believing. And it's a gift of God. It's not anything we can possibly do for it. Not by works, so that nobody can boast. We can't get to heaven and say, I got myself here because I'm good enough. We cannot be good enough because Jesus was good enough. We don't have to be, nor can we be. That's not any way we can get to heaven. All the good works in the world cannot put us right with God. But, so he says that, and there's absolutely it's unequivocally, nothing can make us right with God. But on the other hand, there is something radically wrong with the Christianity that does not show itself in good works, that doesn't play out in good works. Good works is not what gets us right with God. But because we are right with God, then we want to do those good works. And that, it's the other side of the coin, where the good things that we do come into practice. And then that next verse kind of shows that, like Paul's very clear, nothing we can do gets us right with God. But then the next verse, for we are God's workmanship. Some translations say we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do the good works that God prepared in advance for us to do. That's the other part of that, prepared in advance. You know, at the beginning of chapter 1, it was about God. We were predestined, and this is the other part of that. There are some good works that God prepared for you to do. He prepared them in advance. That's not what gets you right with Him, but that's what we do after we're right with Him. And I love that word workmanship. It comes from a Greek word that's poema, something like that. And it's where we get our word poem. So we are God's masterpiece. We are God's beautiful poetry. Have you ever thought of yourself as beautiful poetry? Something God created. And He doesn't recycle our old nature. He doesn't take our old sinful nature and say, let's recycle that and rework that and see if we can come up with something good. It's a different word. It's created from, as in God created the world. He created it. He creates something absolutely brand new. 2 Corinthians says, if any man is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. It's not recycled. It's all new. We're created in Christ Jesus to do the good works that God prepared in advance for us to do. And the beautiful thing is God making of us is shown in the good things that we can do. They're just a part of what God has planned for us, as anything else is. And they're evidence that we have chosen Christ and that we love Him, and the works come out on the other side of it. They play no part in our salvation, but afterwards they do play a part, because it's out of love. It's out of our free will that we choose to do those things. I'm going to read a little reading to close out that is by an author named Timothy Keller. He is a very prolific author. He's written so many books, I couldn't even count them. Very amazing books, and maybe you've heard of him before, but he wrote this in reference to this verse out of Ephesians chapter 2, and I thought I'd read it to you. Timothy Keller asks, do you know what it means that you are God's workmanship? What is art? Art is beautiful. Art is valuable. And art is an expression of the inner being of the maker, the artist. Imagine what that means. You're beautiful, you're valuable, and you're an expression of the very inner being of the divine artist, God Himself. You see, when Jesus gave Himself on the cross, He didn't say, I'm going to die just so you know I love you. He said, I'm going to die, I'm going to bleed for your splendor. I am going to recreate you into something beautiful. I will turn you into something splendid, magnificent. I'm the artist, you're the art. I'm the painter, you are the canvas. I'm the sculptor, you are the marble. You don't look like much there in the quarry, but I can see, Jesus is an artist. And you, beloved, are His crowning achievement, His masterpiece. Can you see why he wrote so many books and why so many people wanted to read him, that he kept writing more? Yeah, he's a great author, and that's just a beautiful piece of poetry. You might want to go back and remember his name, Timothy Keller, just for, you might need it in the future. Anyway, I hope you have a great weekend. We have 3 weeks of school left. That's just crazy, isn't it? But stay strong, finish strong, don't give up. Finish strong, you can do this. All right, I'll see you on Monday, and we'll talk more about New Testament versus Old Testament. Bye.